priceless, you give up other things for it. You know, when I was a little kid, I got a dog. It was the best gift I ever got back then. And I had to give up I had to do all sorts of sacrifices for the dog, but it was because I was blessed to have the dog. When something is worth something to you, you sacrifice for it. The children of Israel were given the promised land. Did they have to pay for it? No. Did they have to work for it? No. But they did have to enter it. They did have to apprehend it. They did have to fight for it. It was given to them, but they had to fight for it. They were guaranteed victory if they fought, a guaranteed victory, but they had to fight. Because they were given the gift of God, because it was so good, it was worth fighting for. God's plan for your life is so good, it's worth fighting for. It's worth giving up things for. It's worth whatever you have to do. Even in nature, you see this principle. There are creatures, there are animals where the male has to bring a gift to the female. Could be a dead fly. I'm not sure if that was because I know there's a bird or a frog or both, but the male has got to show he's a good provider. You know, he's got to prove that, with that. I mean, we have that in human life as well. That's the concept of the engagement ring. The man gives an engagement ring, not because men are into engagement rings, but because the woman is and wants to know that he's serious. The man has to show he's serious. Now, for a lot of men, they'd go with a dead fly. It's a lot cheaper. But that's missing the point. It's not about the ring or the rock. It's about how much it costs, because he's showing how much she's worth to him, how much he loves her. So God has given us a treasure, but we need to manifest the worth. We do that by sacrificing, by giving up, by blessing him, by showing that everything else is nothing compared to it. Our time for him, we sacrifice. We're supposed to. Your plans, you're to sacrifice to God. Your desires to him, and he'll give you back better, but you need to, your possessions, everything, Lord, is yours. Your money, your treasure, everything is God's. We're only stewards for now. So why not bless him? Abraham had to lift up Isaac on the mountain, saying, even though I love Isaac, God said to Abraham, take your son, your only son, and then it says, whom you love. Whom you love. I mean, the irony is right in there, or the contrast is, and offer him up as a sacrifice. And so he had to do that, and he did it, even though it probably killed him inside to do it, except that he had faith, but it still had to be a tearing apart thing. But he's saying, oh Lord, he had to trust God at every moment. And then when he's about to do it, God says, stop. Now I see you have not withheld. That was the final test for Abraham. It wasn't just theoretical, I love the Lord. It was real. And that's what it becomes real when you give of your life. And that moment, God says, okay, Abraham, now I can bless you. Now everything I've said is going to come true. He wants to see it. And you have to see it. You have to do it, or it's not going to be a treasure to you. You'll lose the treasure of having the treasure if you don't treasure it and lift up for it. And for, often in the world, I know sometimes when things are free, guess what? People don't appreciate it. Sometimes when things are free, they appreciate it less, when it doesn't cost anything. When something requires sacrifice, when something requires giving, that it actually is worth more. And so the same with salvation. Sometimes believers take their salvation for granted because it's free. And they confuse that which was priceless for treating it as if it was worthless. Your walk, everything you have is a treasure. The fact that you can talk to God. The fact that he can forgive you today. The fact that you have this hope. The fact that you're going to heaven. That is priceless. But because it's free, we often don't value as we should. And we sometimes, therefore, we do things in our lives and our walk that we should never do. Even though, your salvation, your walk is priceless. Your life that God gave you in him is priceless. And so we cannot just abuse it. So we have to manifest the worth of the treasure. And whatever you give for God, remember, he blesses you on top of it. You give because you were blessed, and then in giving, he blesses you for giving. It's like he's giving you the money to spend it, and then when you spend it, you get blessed with something back. He blesses you. There was a boy, 16-year-old boy, and he was seeking to go out and work, and he had all his possessions. He was poor, tied in a bundle, carried that he had by his hand, and he met an old canal boat captain. And the boy's name was William. He told the captain that his father was too poor to keep him anymore, and the only trade he knew was to make soap and candles. The old man, the captain, actually prayed for the boy. He was a believer. He said, someone will be leading the leading soap maker in New York. It could be you as well as anybody else. He said, be a good man, give your heart to Jesus. He said, give to the Lord. He said, pay the Lord everything that belongs to him. Make an honest soap and give a full pound, and I'm certain you'll be prosperous. He went into the city, remembered the captain's words. He was poor. He joined a church. This is a true story. The first dollar he earned, he gave 1/10, a tithe to God, 10 cents of every dollar. He got regular employment. Soon he became a partner. And then he became the owner of the business. He did as the captain said, and he instructed the bookkeeper to open up an account with God. 1/10 of all his income automatically went there. The business grew. He gave 2/10. Then he gave 3/10. Then he gave 4/10. Then he gave 5/10, half. Finally, he gave all his income. His name, the boy's name was William. His last name was Colgate. That's how Colgate Company was founded. He gave millions to the kingdom of God. I'll give you another story. There was a young man who wanted to be a missionary. He was accepted to be a missionary to Africa. He came to New York for the passage, but on further examination, it was found that his wife could not stand the climate for her health. So he was heartbroken. He went home. He determined to make all the money he could to use it for the kingdom of God, to spread the word as if he was going to Africa. His father was a dentist. His father had started to make on the side an unfermented wine for communion services. The young man took over the business, developed it for God. His last name was Welch. That's how Welch's grape juice came. He gave hundreds of thousands of fortunes to the gospel. Throughout history, people have exchanged, given away careers to become missionaries. They're those who've given up their lives. From Paul, from me, to live as Messiah, to die as gain. They gave their lives. There was a